My favorite snack is cucumbers, and my boyfriend told me I'm not allowed to eat them anymore if I want to stay in a relationship with him because it's not normal, yet he eats a full bag of chips every day. Posted by you/cucumber connoisseur. This is perhaps the most bizarre Am I the Jerk post I have ever written, but I'm honestly so confused. I feel like I can't possibly be the jerk, but sometimes people are too blind to see their own flaws, so maybe I really am. For as long as I can remember, I've had this quirk, I guess you could call it, where I never snack on anything other than cucumber. I shouldn't say never technically, since socially I'll get ice cream or eat a few chips at a party. I'm not a picky eater by any means, but my snack of choice has always been cucumbers. I eat pretty healthily anyway, so a lot of fruits and veggies are part of my diet. Since veggies are lower in calories, I have to eat a lot of them to get enough, so I usually have some sliced cucumber in my purse that I munch on throughout the day, and I always have a cucumber in my car that I just eat whole while driving. I go through several cucumbers daily. Although it's not healthy, I've had days where I felt really depressed and overwhelmed and have binge-eaten nothing but cucumbers. I think I've eaten perhaps 35 on very extreme days. Recently, this quirk has begun to drive my 22F boyfriend, 33M, of 6 months insane, his words, not mine. He says it's highly inappropriate to carry them everywhere with me. We spent last weekend at his parents' lake house, and I provided my own cucumbers to snack on. One night before bed, I was in my room gnawing on a cucumber like a savage when his mother walked in. Under normal circumstances, I never would eat it like that around others, I'd slice it up. She was puzzled but chuckled and said, "Oh my, you do like cucumber." My boyfriend later told me that I had humiliated him with my childish and immature eating habits. I told him that his mom caught me in a low moment and that he was being ridiculous since he eats a bag of chips every day and I don't bat an eye. He told me that chips were a normal snack and whole cucumbers were deranged. He said I needed to stop eating cucumbers and that my behavior was becoming a deal breaker for him. I feel really bothered, but I think cucumbers are a weird hill to die on, and I don't want to lose my relationship. So, am I the jerk here? Edit. I'd just like to add that my boyfriend has never expressed any issue with my cucumber habits before now. The incident in question happened because, around 8 p.m., I was getting really hungry, and I don't know his family super well, so I didn't want to rummage through their kitchen or ask for a snack. I also didn't want to bother them by asking for a cutting board or something to cut up my cucumber because, well, mild social anxiety. So, I shut myself in the guest room and figured I'd just snack on a cucumber quickly. I don't usually go hide and eat cucumbers, haha. But then his mom walked in, presumably looking for my boyfriend, and was a little surprised but seemed amused, not upset or anything. I honestly didn't think it would turn into such a big deal for him. Update 20 days later. I didn't expect my first post to get any attention, so I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to read it and give your judgment. To those of you who expressed concern about my cucumber addiction or that I have an eating disorder, I can assure you I am perfectly healthy. I wouldn't consider myself addicted, nor do I have an eating disorder at all, I just really enjoy my cucumbers. I can go days without eating them, I don't need my cucumber fix. It's just that if I'm going to snack, I'd prefer to eat a cucumber. I would consider the amount I snack on cucumbers proportional to the amount my boyfriend or any normal person would snack on chips or other junk food. I just occasionally eat more since they're so low in calories. Additionally, I have had a few cucumber binges, and I am well aware that those are not healthy, just like binging on junk food isn't healthy. But that's extremely uncommon for me, and for the most part, I eat a well-balanced, healthy diet. However, I will talk to my doctor about it to ensure that it is not a concern. As for my boyfriend, we ended up calling it quits. I was pretty hurt at first, but I think perhaps his huge reaction to cucumbers was indeed a red flag for controlling behavior. I think he was trying to call my bluff, expecting me to give up my cucumbers for him, so the breakup took him by surprise too. Here's how it went down. I told him we needed to have a chat. I told him it was unacceptable to tell me what I was allowed to eat. I added that if listening to me chow down on cucumbers was what bothered him, as some of you in the comments noted, I would avoid eating them when he was around. Apparently, the very idea of me eating so many cucumbers was driving him nuts, not the noise. I decided to try and compromise. He's a pretty heavy drinker and gets drunk often. I know that's very bad for his health, and I have expressed that concern in the past. I told him I'd give up cucumbers if he gave up alcohol. He declined my offer, threw out a few uncreative insults and expletives, and I am now writing this from my mom's couch with a cucumber in my hand and a cucumber in my heart. I'm still unclear on why the cucumbers were such an issue, why I could never eat them again, and why me suggesting he give up alcohol was such a big deal, among other things. But I guess I'll never know now. Edit. I seem to have forgotten to add this, as it was a common question on the original post, and I'm seeing it in the comments now. No, I did not eat 35 of those mammoth cucumbers. My eating habits may be odd, but I'm not completely insane. I think on my last cucumber binge, which occurs super rarely and was quite a while ago, I had maybe 3 or 4 big ones, and the rest were mini cucumbers. I do buy a lot of them at the grocery store, but I have a cucumber dealer who hooks me up with huge batches. Edit 2. Just for some added clarification for those who think my boyfriend is completely justified in his cucumber hate and that I'm a lunatic, I agree, sort of. If he had been bothered by the chewing or concerned about my health, I was ready to talk about it and work something out. I didn't enter into the discussion for a fight or with the intention of breaking up. His attempted grasp for control over my food wasn't even the reason I broke up with him, but when he started shouting at me and called me a beach, which he had never done before, I decided to end things. Second update 18 days later. I like cucumbers, a lot. They're my absolute favorite snack food, and I always try to keep them on hand. I've had a few awkward cucumber-related incidents in the past, cucumbers falling out of my purse, my ex-boyfriend opening my fridge only for those noble cucumbers to spring forth and attack him, the same ex-boyfriend banning me from my snack of choice, the list goes on and on. Although this particular horror happened about 3 years ago, I think I've finally dealt with the trauma enough to recount this nightmare. I think most of us can agree that the TSA came straight from the depths of hell. There are very few things in life that fill me with rage, but those that do often happen to have meddled with my cucumbers. Usually, as a petite blonde woman who is often mistaken for a child, profiling is on my side, and I can breeze through security checkpoints with no issue. However, luck apparently runs out when one's pockets are laden with cucumbers. One might ask, who would fill their pockets with cucumbers right before heading to the airport? Clearly, only a cucumber fanatic with very poor judgment and not enough time to cut them up for a lovely spring salad. Standing in line always makes me anxious, as I'm worried that I'll annoy the person behind me by taking too long. This is especially true for security checkpoints since you need to remove your electronics, liquids, and shoes and place them all in separate bins before getting scanned. On this particular day, I had 2 bags to manage: my laptop, camera, phone, iPad, liquids, and a whole bunch of mini cucumbers to handle. At the time, I was wearing sweatpants, in which I had about 3 to 4 cucumbers stuffed in each pocket. Although I had planned on transferring them into my bag before even entering the airport, my nervousness mixed with anxiety must have caused it to slip my mind. Even while standing in line at TSA, I had completely forgotten about those little green babies I harbored in my pockets. As I stepped through the scanner, no alarms went off, so I figured I was in the clear. I was wrong. A very tall, terrifying woman approached me. She pulled me aside. I had been randomly selected for the first time in my 19 years. Suddenly, I remembered the cucumbers. I looked down and noticed the faint bulge of my pockets. My mouth ran dry. I wanted to say something, to confess, but I was frozen in place. The words wouldn't come out. The woman began her pat down, over my arms, down my abdomen, down my leg, and then she stopped. I knew I was done for when she asked me if I had anything in my pockets. Upon my affirmation, she asked me to remove the items. Very slowly, I removed cucumber after cucumber and placed them into her outstretched hands. Her face remained like a stone-cold statue. She claimed that cucumbers were included with liquids and would need to be placed in a half-gallon Ziploc bag with my other liquids in the future. She did not return my cucumbers, rather, I watched in horror as she deposited them in the trash. My tiny cucumber children, ripped away from me. Cucumbers, a liquid? What nonsense. I was released from TSA custody, and I walked away with a heavy, cucumberless heart. So, to anyone who happens upon this, take heed, do not leave your vegetables on your person while in Chicago O'Hare Airport, you will be robbed of them.